Dry monoprinting while focusing on negative space. Here's a list of resources you might need.
Okay, a second response idea for Jim Dine's artwork. For this piece, you're going to need 2 pieces of A4 paper, your original drawings which you can trace. So what I want you to do is to trace your design again on one side of your paper, and then I would like you to trace it again on the back. Now when you trace it, it's very easy to start losing detail, so just take your time and make sure you're copying down all of the detail that you have. If you've got a light box, that's excellent, but if you don't, it would be a good idea to lean against the window if you're able to. And if you're tracing using tracing paper, you need to make sure that the image is in the exact same position on the back of the paper, and you'll see why in a moment. Okay, so you should now have a copy of your design on the front, a copy of your design on the back. We are going to be creating an oil pastel monoprint on this, but before we do that, we're going to just consider the space around the outside of the tools. So for this task, you're going to need to use some charcoal and some ink or anything else you have which makes a black mark. If you are able to still refer back to the artist for ideas, please do that. I like to make sure I continuously look just to get ideas, and we're just focusing on the outline of the object, so ignore the tools apart from the outline of them, and just add some charcoal. I'm just going to keep my materials dry, but if you have a little bit more time, then you can add water, and you can add some Indian ink, black watercolour. For my demonstration, I'm keeping my materials dry just so as I can show you the outcome straight away. Okay, once you're happy with that, if you've used a wet medium like an Indian ink or watercolour or water to blend some of the charcoal, you're going to need to allow that to dry before you do the next part. So if you just put that to one side, you need another piece of A4 paper, and then you're going to also need a black oil pastel. So make sure you have a black oil pastel. And then with your black oil pastel, you're just going to completely fill the entire page. So don't worry about how neat or how scruffy this is. It really doesn't matter. But what does matter is that you press really hard. You might want to invest in a slightly cheaper packet of oil pastels, which shouldn't affect the use but it does mean that you're not going to waste too much material. If you tuned into the tutorials during the first module, then you will already know how to do this process, so please do feel free to fast forward me and just give it a go. If not, stay tuned in. Okay, so this needs to be quite thick. You don't want too many gaps. If you've got too many gaps, then your line on your monoprint won't be very clear. Okay, that is okay. Right, so now you need your piece of work that you've already started with, and you're going to flip it. Place it over the top of your oil pastel. And what is great about oil pastel monoprinting is the fact that you can lean on the page without worrying that the black is going to transfer. If you have got some block printing ink, which looks like, if you have your own block printing ink and you want to have a go at doing this with ink and a roller or a brayer, then you need to make sure that when you're transferring the image, not to lean on the paper, because that will pick up any ink on the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw back over the top of my design as it is, and then also going to perhaps add more detail. And to do that, you can refer back to the tools that you used. You can refer back to the drawings that you did at the start, or if you want to just have a go at keeping it a little bit more simple, you can just draw over the top of your design as you see it. One good tip would be to use a coloured pencil, like a red, or a biro would work, and the reason for that is then you can see which lines you've gone over already, so I know that I've probably just repeated some lines, so that's a good top tip. Okay, once you've finished drawing back over the top of your design, if you want to add some more detail, you can do. Or what's great about using oil pastel for a monoprint is that you can check it and then add more if you need to. You can see the details transfer through really nicely. And I'm going to carry on working into the hammer a little bit because I feel like it's lacking a little bit of detail. Again, brilliant monoprinting with oil pastel because you can just carry on working back over the top of it, whereas monoprinting with block printing ink means that it needs to be back in the same position so as there's ink for it to pick up. I'm just going to add a bit of detail. I don't want too much detail on my drawing because this exercise is just focusing on the space around the outside of the objects. I'm just going to add a little bit of detail, some hatching, just to show you. Okay, so if I show you how that's picked up some of the lines, which looks really interesting. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Okay, why don't you have a go? You can always carry on working over the top of it now. So I might add some Indian ink, some black watercolour, and just add some more areas. I might add some more water to my charcoal just to create a bit of tone in the background as well. But yeah, that's a great method for showing space and line.